Listen, I'll just let you guys go ahead and start firing away with questions.
Dennis, when you guys made the switches that you made at running back in week one, obviously you had Ellis Merriweather here all summer and other contenders, but then you added two new guys and Tony in particular. Was pass protection and knowledge of that part of the game high on the list or something, especially with Tony?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that was all part of it. I mean, obviously, Tony was a guy that, had been with us, had been in our system. We'd seen him play in NFL games, guy that we had confidence that could come in and fill a role right away. And so, yeah, I just thought it was a good fit for what we were looking for at the time.
Did he grade out really well in that area in this game?
Yeah, look, I thought overall he played pretty well. I thought he did a good job, in terms of protection, and I thought he ran the ball well.
Hey, Dennis, do you know anything about what happened between Derek Brown and Michael Thomas in the stadium last night? There was a video going around Twitter of them exchanging words.
Yeah, look, I was made aware of that, and really, I think what kind of happened was, I guess Mike got a little discombobulated. He went through their tunnel. He was obviously trying to make his way back to our locker room, and looked like they took offense to that. I don't think there was anything, on Mike's part where he did really anything wrong. He just that tunnel is right there on our sideline, and so I think he just exited that tunnel, not really being aware of that, and I don't think too much of it.
Gotcha. So nothing like related to something that happened in the game.
No.
Dennis, when you went back and looked at some of the tape as far as the pass protection, were there some things that the Panthers were throwing that maybe threw the offensive line off, or were there any commonalities that you saw?
No, look, I mean, I think I would say overall the protection was pretty good in the game. We had a couple of times where we're on the right guy. We just lost early, in protection, and so. I thought overall, I thought it was pretty good.
Dennis, is there any update on Jamal Williams?
Yeah, look, he's got a hamstring injury. I expect that it's going to take a little time to get him back. But we'll probably have, a little bit more update as we go throughout the week.
How did Trevor Penning specifically grade out when you reviewed the film? Did he?
Yeah, I thought he was improved from last week. And that's really what you want to see from him is just step by step, incremental by incremental, getting better each and every week. I thought it was an improvement from where he was the week before. There's still a lot of things he's got to get better at, but I thought it was just a nice step in the right direction for him.
Dennis, when you went back and looked at the tape, what were what stood out about the defensive line and the job that they did against Bryce Young with the pass rush and such?
Yeah, look, I thought we were able to get some pressure on the quarterback. We didn't blitz much in the game. I thought we kind of had him under duress for a good portion of the game. And look, I think it's a credit to both the pass rush and the pass coverage. There wasn't a lot of just easy looks, wide open guys to throw the ball to. I thought we did a pretty good job of disrupting the timing of the passing game, and our rush was able to take advantage of that.
Dennis, was it a concerted effort to get Taysom Hill more touches? I know he only had 4 in the first game. Was that something you looked at as a staff and said, "Hey, we got to do better with that"?
Yeah, look, we talked about it, every week you play a game, you come back in after the game, and you do a after action review of, okay, what did we do well in the game? What did we not do well? What would we have done differently? Certainly, getting Taysom more involved was something that we thought, well, we need to make sure we make a concerted effort to be able to do that this week. I thought we did a really good job of that. He played a lot of different positions, lined up in a lot of different spots. I thought he made a big impact in the game.
Kind of as a follow-up, we hadn't seen him a lot as a true tailback. Is that something that you kind of, especially with the situation with Jamal going forward, that you're going to ponder doing a lot, or how would you approach that?
Well, I would just add that to the list of things that he can do. And so we'll have a plan for how we want to utilize Taysom this week, and he'll line up in a multitude of positions just like he always does, and I think we'll have a good plan to utilize him this week.
DA, how close was Kendre Miller to making it back this past weekend against the Panthers?
Yeah, look, I think probably physically he could have played. That was more a decision on my part that, a rookie player that wasn't able to fully participate in practice during the week. I just didn't feel like that was the right thing for our team to put him in the game. And so it was more a decision on my part to hold him. I expect him to be, pretty much full go this week. And, we'll see where he's at for game day. But, I would expect that there's a good chance we'll see him this week.
Does that give you guys enough running backs on the roster? Do you need to add a body this week?
No, I think we're good with what we have.
Coach, is this level of defense sustainable for an entire season? Can you continue to play at the level that you're playing at over the first two games?
I don't know why we can't. Now, does that mean you're, every single game you go out there, you're holding teams to 16, 17 points? I don't know. That's pretty lofty expectations throughout an entire season on a game in and game out basis. But that's the standard. And look, I think our guys, as long as they continue to come in and work the way that they're working, focus on all the details, play the game the way it's supposed to be played, and everybody just focuses on making sure they're doing their job. And if all 11 do that on every single play, I don't see any reason why we can't, sustain that type of defense. Obviously, this league is a tough league. It's highly competitive in all areas, and I'm sure as every team does, you look at, teams are going to be studying what we're doing, and they're going to try to find the weakness and see if they can attack it.
Hey, Dennis, kind of following up on that, if I can, is it even a little surprising to you as somebody who's been in this league now going on almost 2 decades? It seems like the league has changed to favor offenses. And so when you see defenses do what yours does, I mean, in today's NFL, just kind of following up on Ed's question, is that a little bit surprising in some way?
Well, it's not surprising to me. Look, it's hard, it's tough, it's difficult, but when you have really good players that try to do what they're coached to do every single time they go out there, and they're accountable to each other, then you're able to perform on a pretty consistent basis. So I think we're fortunate here that we got a lot of really, really good players, and that leads to the opportunity to play good defense.
I know it was a small sample size, both on defense and on special teams, but Isaiah Foskey's debut, how did he grade out for you?
Yeah, look, I thought particularly, in the punt rush game, I thought he did a really good job in the punt rush game. There was a few opportunities that he's close to, I think he affected the punter on a couple opportunities, I'd say. And yet there's some other areas, on special teams and on defense that he can improve on. But I thought it was a nice start for him, his first opportunity to get out there and play in a real NFL game. I thought there were some things that we can build on.
I know he had some production as a punt rush and in field goal rush as well in college. Was that something that stood out for y'all in terms of grading him out in the draft as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It was another factor that we considered in terms of, how can he, affect the game and how can he help us win? And he's a player that we feel like can be an asset for us on special teams.
Coach, I know momentum in this league is a fickle thing. Do you feel like you have it now or not?
Well, look, I think we have a confident football team. And confidence is born from demonstrated ability. And we've had two really tough games and been able to come out on the good side of both of them. And certainly we feel like we're playing, good enough football to win. And yet at the same time, we know there's a lot of things that we can do better and improve on. And so that's what that's our goal each and every week to, continue to do the things that we're doing really well and improve in the areas that we're not performing as well as we need to, because we're going to have to do that as the season comes on.
Dennis, they had video of you in the post game locker room, and you say you don't really like giving out game balls. Does that make you kind of uncommon in the league? I never know exactly if game balls are an official thing or an unofficial thing, or is there a reason why?
Look, I don't know that they're official. It's just kind of, our philosophy here that, you don't get a lot of individual accolades in our game because it's a team game. And if somebody has a really good productive game, i.e. a receiver that has a lot of yards or touchdowns or whatever, well, the quarterback had to throw him the ball. There had to be protection for the quarterback to get him the ball, so there's a lot of things that go into it. I felt like from a defensive standpoint, obviously, it's going over the course of 2 seasons, but when you've held opponents to less than or 20 points or less in 10 consecutive games and you set a franchise record, knowing that the history of the Dome Patrol defense and some of the defenses that have been around here, I think that's a big accomplishment. And so, I still look at that as a team accomplishment, not necessarily an individual accomplishment.
And you tossed that ball to Cam, but was that representing you awarded that to the defense or to Cam?
That was for the defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cam gets enough accolades.
Yeah, on that same subject, I know you mentioned that it's a different season, but at the same time, there can be continuity in some areas for teams from, I think, one season to another. And so would you say that you do see, I guess, in the continuity department, this streak that you mentioned from the middle of last year to the way they're playing now, just given the amount of incumbent starters returning and I guess the feel that they have for each other?
Yeah, I think, we've got a lot of veteran players. We've got a lot of players that were, on the squad last year. And so, yeah, I do think there's some continuity in terms of where we're at defensively. There's a lot of same as, meaning it's, same scheme, a lot of the same players, and yet there's some different pieces to the puzzle. There's some different coaches on the staff. There's some different players that are out there playing, and but yet some of the key cornerstone pieces are still there and kind of allow us to do what we do.
Coach, I know you always talk about, players, you like to see things from them. As far as Granderson, are we seeing a player that is emerging now? Do you think that's on a whole new level? Is that accurate?
Yeah, look, I think he's playing well. And I thought you saw that as the year went on last year. I thought you saw Carl really take a step forward. I think he's continued on that same trend. I like what he's doing. I like what I'm seeing from him. And, the key is remaining consistent and being able to do it throughout the entirety of the season.
Hey, Dennis, just curious, going back to the game last night, did you all play more zone than normal, or was that something they talked about it on the broadcast a little bit? And I'm kind of curious. I know you all mix it up a lot, but is it common now to be good at both? I know you all play a lot of press man, but is it easy to find guys that can do both those things well, like you all do?
Yeah. I mean, we just kind of do what we do. I don't know that I really kind of thought of it that way. I mean, we find guys that we feel like, fit our system and the way that we like to play defense. I think our personnel guys have done a really good job of identifying guys that kind of fit that mold. I think our assistant coaches have, bought into the scheme and the culture and are doing a good job of teaching it. And I think our players are doing an outstanding job of really fully understanding, what we do and why we do what we do. And I think that's probably the biggest factor is, I think when you can teach a player as to why you're doing what you're doing and they can understand the whys, I think it just allows them to, really perform a lot better.
And when you play a mobile quarterback like you did last night, do you end up playing a little more zone just to keep eyes on the quarterback, or is that not part of it?
No, I think there's some elements of that are factors. Obviously, look on the long scramble, we were in man-to-man coverage on that one. The quarterback got out on us. We missed the tackle, and it became the longest play of the night. So, there's a lot of factors that go into playing what you play, and yet, I'm not a big believer in playing a ton of just, drop back into, Harry High School cover 3 and let them throw the ball to open guys underneath all game long either. So I think there's a mix and match to that.
When you went back and looked at Mike Thomas and Chris Olave and Shaheed, just the job they were doing, some of the contested catches they're making, just kind of talk about them and kind of the maturation and the trust that Derek Carr has with them?
Well, look, I'd start off with Mike Thomas and say I thought he was outstanding in the game. I thought just his competitiveness, the way that he ran his routes, the way that he, caught the ball. I thought he was a major factor in the game. His attitude on the sideline and how he was dealing with all the players on the sideline, his positivity. It was awesome to see. So I thought he was outstanding in the game. And then with Chris and Shaheed, I said this the other night. I mean, you're one play away from a game-changing type play on any given play during the game, and so that's a comforting feeling to have as a coach, and it's a comforting feeling to have as an offensive coordinator, as a quarterback. Those are all good things.
Yeah, we've only seen, I think it's 2 receptions by running backs so far through the first 2 games. Is that just kind of the nature of what's available versus, different coverages and things like that?
Yeah, look, and you go through this whole thing and you think about your playmakers and how you're going to try to get your playmakers the ball. And, obviously we've got receivers and tight ends, and, Alvin's kind of been the guy that we've relied on primarily coming out of the backfield. I think we missed that element just a little bit, but, and look, we've done some things and used the backs a little bit more in protection. So I think as the season wears on, all these things will kind of filter out, and there'll be games where we'll utilize the running backs a little bit more out of the backfield, and some where we're going to be a little bit more in tune with trying to get the ball to the receivers outside on the edges.
To your point on Mike Thomas, he had a funny line last night where he said he'll take that energy and even bring it to you, and thinks maybe he can inspire you to be even more aggressive on defense. Is this an accurate portrayal of what's going on the sideline? Is he talking trash to you?
Well, listen, he was certainly jacked up for the game and excited about the game, and yeah, he had a few things to say to me, which was awesome. I love it. That's the type of team that we want to be. A team that plays with confidence, plays with a swagger. And I think that's what you've seen out of our guys.
Dennis, how far along are you all on the Packers?
Well, we'd be a lot further along if I wasn't sitting here talking to you guys.
I figured that was coming.
No,
No, did you get?
no,
did
we're
you,
doing good. Look, we got in about 2:00 in the morning and got a couple hours of sleep and got back at it this morning. So we're playing a little bit of catch up, but ultimately we'll when it comes time to play on Sunday, we'll have a good plan together and we'll be ready to go on Sunday.